In the quiet suburbs, life for Lucas and Megan seemed picture perfect. A beautiful home, 2 children, and a marriage that looked solid to the outside world. Lucas, an IT specialist, worked long hours, while Megan balanced her time between the children and her part-time job at a local advertising firm. To everyone, they seemed the ideal couple. But beneath the surface, small cracks had started to form. Megan had become more secretive in recent months, glued to her phone and often distracted during conversations. Her late nights, explained away as work meetings, began to happen more often, and Lucas couldn't help but notice the faint unease that started to grow within him. Lucas tried to ignore the growing suspicion gnawing at the back of his mind. He'd convinced himself that Megan was simply stressed, that her increased time on the phone and late nights were nothing out of the ordinary. But one evening, as they sat together on the couch, Megan received a text message. She glanced at her phone and immediately put it face down on the coffee table, her demeanor shifting ever so slightly. Lucas couldn't help but notice. "Who was that?" he asked casually. "Just work," Megan replied quickly, her tone a little too dismissive. That night, as Megan slept, Lucas lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The turning point came a week later when Megan said she was staying late at work for a team dinner. Lucas, now unable to silence his doubts, decided to take action. He drove to Megan's workplace and parked across the street, waiting to catch a glimpse of her leaving. Hours passed and the office lights eventually went dark. Megan never came out. Lucas felt a chill run down his spine. Lucas took a step toward the dining room. When she returned home later that night, Lucas casually asked about her evening. Megan's answer was rehearsed, her smile forced. Lucas nodded but didn't press further. He knew he needed proof. Over the next few days, Lucas installed a GPS tracker in Megan's car and discreetly monitored her text messages using software. He hated the invasion of privacy, but felt he had no choice. It didn't take long for the truth to come out. Megan wasn't working late. She was meeting someone. The messages revealed a name, Adam. They were intimate, filled with promises to meet again, and references to moments Lucas knew couldn't have happened at work. Lucas felt a mixture of anger, heartbreak, and betrayal, but instead of confronting Megan immediately, he decided to gather more evidence. He wanted to be prepared for whatever came next. One evening, while Megan was in the shower, Lucas retrieved her phone from the nightstand. The messages between her and Adam were undeniable proof. "Can't stop thinking about you. When can I see you again?" "Tomorrow." "It will be at work?" Lucas's chest tightened as he read the exchange. The reality of what was happening was too much to ignore. When Megan stepped out of the bathroom, Lucas was sitting on the edge of the bed, her phone in his hand. "Care to explain this?" he asked, his voice calm but cold. Megan froze, her face pale. "Lucas, it's not what it looks like." "Not what it looks like," Lucas shot back, standing. "You've been lying to me for months, meeting him while I'm at work. How could you do this to us, to the kids?" Megan began to cry, but Lucas wasn't moved. He left the room, grabbing his keys and heading out the door. He needed space to think. In the following days, Lucas began the process of protecting himself and his children. He contacted a lawyer and laid out everything he had discovered. He didn't want to rush into any decisions, but knew he needed to be prepared. Megan, meanwhile, tried to salvage what was left of their relationship. She apologized repeatedly, claiming the affair had been a mistake and that she wanted to fix their marriage, but Lucas couldn't trust her anymore. The final blow came when Megan admitted she was pregnant and there was a possibility the child wasn't Lucas's. The paternity test confirmed Lucas's worst fears. The baby wasn't his. Megan begged him to forgive her, insisting she would cut all ties with Adam and focus on their family. But for Lucas, the damage was irreparable. "You've destroyed everything," he said during one of their final conversations. "This family, our trust. I can't stay in this marriage." The divorce was finalized within months. Lucas kept custody of their children, determined to provide them with the stability they needed. Months later, Lucas met Olivia, a single mother, at one of Ethan's school events. They bonded over shared experiences, and their friendship gradually blossomed into something more. Olivia's kindness and understanding brought a sense of peace to Lucas's life that he hadn't felt in years. Meanwhile, Megan struggled to rebuild her relationship with the children. Ethan was polite but distant, while Lily refused to speak to her altogether. The realization of what she had lost weighed heavily on Megan, but she knew it was a consequence of her actions. As Lucas and Olivia's relationship deepened, they decided to take the next step and moved in together. Their blended family thrived in the loving environment they created. For the first time in years, Lucas felt hopeful about the future. Megan, watching from afar, regretted their choices deeply. She tried to make amends with the children, writing letters and sending gifts, but their responses were lukewarm at best. Lucas, however, no longer dwelt on the past. With Olivia by his side and his children thriving, he had built a new life filled with love and trust. As time went on, Lucas found himself embracing the joy and stability that Olivia brought into his life. Their household was lively and full of laughter, a stark contrast to the tension that had dominated his marriage with Megan in its final months. Ethan and Lily adored Olivia, and her daughter Chloe quickly became a beloved part of the family dynamic. One evening, as they sat around the dinner table, Olivia looked at Lucas and smiled. "I can't believe how far we've come," she said softly. "The kids, us. It just feels right." Lucas nodded, taking her hand in his. "It does. I never thought I'd feel this kind of peace again." But while Lucas was moving forward, Megan remained trapped in her cycle of regret and attempts to reconnect. She had written dozens of letters to Lily, apologizing for her mistakes and begging for another chance to be part of her life. Most of the letters went unanswered. One day, Lily found one of Megan's letters tucked away in a drawer. Curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to read it. Megan's words were raw and filled with remorse. "I know I hurt you, and I'll never forgive myself for what I did to our family," one line read. "But I hope, one day, you'll give me the chance to show you that I can be better." Lily felt a surge of conflicting emotions: anger, sadness, and a faint glimmer of hope. She wasn't ready to forgive Megan, but she realized she might be ready to talk. When Lily brought the letter to Lucas, he read it carefully before speaking. "What do you want to do, sweetheart?" he asked. "It's your decision." I want to see her," Lily said hesitantly. "But just once. I need to tell her how I feel." Lucas supported her decision, agreeing to supervise the meeting. They arranged to meet Megan at a nearby park, a neutral space where Lily could feel safe. The reunion was tense. Megan greeted Lily with a cautious smile, her hands trembling as she reached out for a hug. Lily hesitated before allowing the briefest of embraces. As they sat down to talk, Megan apologized once again. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," she said, her voice trembling, "but I want to try to fix things." Lily's response was measured but firm. "You broke our family. You hurt Dad, Ethan, and me. I don't know if I can forgive you. But maybe we can start with this." Megan's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't push. "Thank you, Lily. That's all I could ask for." Meanwhile, Ethan remained distant from Megan, refusing to join Lily in her efforts to reconnect. "She made her choices," he told Lucas. "I'm fine without her." Lucas respected Ethan's boundaries, knowing that healing looked different for everyone. He focused on creating a stable, loving environment where his children could thrive. One evening, as the family gathered to celebrate Chloe's birthday, Lucas looked around the room and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Ethan and Lily were laughing with Chloe, and Olivia was by his side, her smile lighting up the room. Later that night, as they cleaned up the remnants of the party, Olivia turned to Lucas. "Do you think we've finally found our balance?" Lucas pulled her into a hug. "I think we have, and it feels like everything I ever wanted." Megan continued to rebuild her life, though the process was slow and painful. She attended therapy regularly, trying to understand the choices that had led her to where she was. Her relationship with Lily remained fragile but slowly improved with time. Ethan, however, kept his distance, and Megan had to accept that he might never let her back into his life. It was a painful reality, but one she knew she had to face. Years later, as Ethan and Lily graduated from high school, Lucas and Olivia stood proudly in the audience, cheering for their children. Megan attended as well, sitting quietly in the back. She watched from afar, tears in her eyes, as her children celebrated their achievements. For Lucas, the moment was bittersweet. He had been through heartbreak and betrayal, but standing there with Olivia, surrounded by their blended family, he knew he had found true happiness. Over the next few months, Lucas and Olivia worked together to strengthen their family dynamic. They introduced new traditions like Sunday movie nights and summer road trips, making sure the kids felt secure and loved. Ethan and Lily seemed happier than ever, their laughter filling the house with a warmth Lucas hadn't experienced in years. One afternoon, Lily surprised Lucas by asking to visit Megan again. "I think I'm ready to talk more," she said softly. Lucas nodded, respecting her decision. "Take your time. And remember, you don't owe her anything you're not ready to give. The second meeting between Lily and Megan was more relaxed than the first. They met at a coffee shop, where Megan listened attentively as Lily shared her feelings. "I was so angry at you," Lily admitted. "I didn't think I could ever forgive you for what you did to Dad. To us. But I've realized that holding on to all that anger doesn't help me either." Megan wiped away tears, her voice trembling as she spoke. "I know I can't change the past, Lily, but I promise I'll keep trying to be someone you can trust again." Their relationship was far from healed, but it was a start. Lily left the meeting feeling lighter, as if a weight she hadn't even realized she was carrying had been lifted. Meanwhile, Ethan remained resolute in his decision to keep his distance from Megan. "I'm glad Lily feels like she can talk to her," he told Lucas one evening, "but I don't want anything to do with her. She made her choices, and I've made mine." Lucas supported Ethan's choice, knowing it was important to let his son set his own boundaries. "You're allowed to feel however you need to feel," Lucas reassured him. "Just know that I'm proud of you for handling this your way." As time passed, Lucas and Olivia began to discuss the future of their blended family. They both wanted to provide a stable and loving home for the children, and Olivia's unwavering support continued to strengthen Lucas's trust in their partnership. One evening, as they sat together on the porch, Olivia brought up an idea. "What if we adopted Chloe officially? She's already part of this family, and I think it would mean the world to her." Lucas's heart swelled at the thought. Chloe had become like a daughter to him, and the idea of making it official felt right. "Let's talk to her about it," he said with a smile. When they approached Chloe with the idea, her face lit up with joy. "Really? You'd want to do that?" she asked, her voice filled with emotion. Lucas knelt down and took her hands in his. "You're already part of this family, Chloe, and this would just make it official." His adoption process brought a new sense of unity to the family. Chloe's excitement was contagious, and even Ethan and Lily celebrated the milestone with her. While Lucas and Olivia's family grew stronger, Megan continued her journey towards self-improvement. She maintained her therapy sessions and began volunteering at a local community center, hoping to find a sense of purpose and rebuild her life. Her relationship with Lily continued to improve, with the two meeting regularly for coffee or lunch. Megan cherished these moments, no matter how small, as signs that she was slowly earning back her daughter's trust. However, her attempts to reconnect with Ethan remained unsuccessful. He rarely responded to her messages and avoided any direct interaction. Megan knew she had to accept his decision, no matter how much it hurt. Years later, as Ethan prepared to leave for college, Lucas and Olivia hosted a family dinner to celebrate his achievement. The house was filled with laughter and pride as Ethan shared his plans for the future. "Look." During the dinner, Lily quietly pulled Lucas aside. "I think I want to invite Mom to my graduation," she said. "It feels like the right thing to do." Lucas looked at his daughter with admiration. "If that's what you want, I'll support you." At the graduation ceremony, Megan sat quietly in the audience, watching with tears in her eyes as Ethan and Lily crossed the stage to receive their diplomas. She felt a mixture of pride and sadness, knowing she had missed so much of their lives. After the ceremony, Lily approached Megan and gave her a small hug. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. "Punter." Megan smiled through her tears. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." Ethan, however, kept his distance, offering Megan only a polite nod before walking away with Lucas and Olivia. As the years went by, Lucas and Olivia's family grew even closer. Chloe, now officially adopted, often referred to Lucas as Dad, a title that warmed his heart every time he heard it. Ethan, thriving in college, would call home regularly to share updates about his classes and new friendships. Lily, though still in high school, was already making plans for her future, inspired by her father's strength and determination. One day, while sorting through old photo albums, Olivia came across pictures of Lucas with Megan during happier times. She paused for a moment before bringing them to him. "Do you ever look back and feel conflicted?" she asked gently. Lucas studied the photos, memories of both joy and pain flickering through his mind. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but I don't regret where I am now. Everything I went through brought me here. To you, and the kids. That's what matters." Meanwhile, Megan continued her efforts to reconnect with Lily, and their bond, though fragile, grew stronger over time. They began meeting more regularly, sharing stories and small moments that Megan had missed over the years. It sure as hell helped Megan's depression levels as well as revived her sense of community. One afternoon, as they sat together at a cafe, Megan brought up Ethan. Do you think he'll ever want to talk to me? She asked, her voice heavy with hope. Guilt. Lily hesitated, stirring her coffee. I don't know, Mom. Ethan's been through a lot. He's still angry, and I think it'll take time. Maybe a lot of time. Megan nodded, her heart sinking. I just hope he knows how proud I am of him. Lily gave her a small smile. I think, deep down, he does. But he needs to come to it on his own. Ethan, on the other hand, focused on his studies and his newfound independence. While he rarely spoke about his mother, the scars of her betrayal shaped the way he approached relationships and trust. During one visit home, Olivia noticed him becoming more withdrawn and decided to have a quiet word with Lucas. I think Ethan's still carrying a lot of weight from what happened with Megan, Olivia said. Maybe it's time you talk to him about it. Help him let some of that go. Lucas agreed. Later that evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, he turned to Ethan. You've been doing great at school, son. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Dad, Ethan replied with a faint smile. After a pause, Lucas continued, but I can tell there's something you're holding on to. Is it about your mom? Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. I guess so. I don't know if I can ever forgive her. What she did, it changed everything. Lucas placed a reassuring hand on his son's shoulder. You don't have to forgive her if you're not ready, but don't let that anger take over your life. It's okay to set boundaries, but make sure you're doing it for yourself, not because of what she did. Ethan nodded, the weight of his father's words sinking in. As the family continued to move forward, Megan received an unexpected message from Ethan. It was brief but meaningful. Thanks for everything, Mom. I'm doing okay. Though it wasn't a direct invitation to reconnect, it was enough to bring tears to her eyes. She clung to the small hope that one day their relationship could be repaired. Life for Lucas and Olivia remained full of joy and purpose. They continued to support their children as they grew into adults, each finding their own path. Family gatherings became cherished traditions, filled with laughter, love, and stories of how far they'd come. One summer evening, as they sat around a campfire during a family trip, Lucas looked at Olivia and their children, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The road had been long and difficult, but it had led him to a life he never thought possible. I couldn't have done this without you, Lucas said quietly, taking Olivia's hand. She smiled at him, her eyes reflecting the warmth of the fire. We did this together, Lucas. All of us. As the family trip came to an end, Lucas couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed over the years. Ethan was preparing to graduate from college, and Lily had just been accepted into her dream university. Chloe, now a teenager, was thriving, her infectious laughter often filling the house. Olivia's unwavering support and kindness continued to be the glue that held their blended family together. Back at home, Lucas received an unexpected message from Megan. She asked if they could meet, not to talk about the past, but to discuss their children's future. After some consideration, Lucas agreed, deciding it was time to approach things with civility for the sake of Ethan and Lily. The meeting was arranged at a small coffee shop. When Megan arrived, Lucas noticed how different she looked. More subdued, almost as though the years had worn heavily on her. She greeted him with a hesitant smile. Thanks for agreeing to meet, she began. I know we haven't had much to say to each other in a long time, but I wanted to talk about Ethan and Lily. Lucas nodded, keeping his tone neutral. What about them? Megan took a deep breath. I've been trying to rebuild things with Lily, and she's been amazing. But Ethan, he's still so distant. I know it's my fault, but I don't know how to reach him. I was hoping you could help. Lucas leaned back in his chair, studying her. Ethan's an adult now. He's capable of making his own decisions, and I'm not going to force him into anything he's not ready for. If he wants to talk to you, it'll have to be on his terms. Exercise started to interest him, and he was curious to learn more, but didn't have time to go into any scenes. Megan nodded, tears welling in her eyes. I understand. I miss them. Both of them. Oh yeah. For a moment, Lucas softened. They're good kids, Megan, and they've come a long way, but trust takes time to rebuild, if it can be rebuilt at all. As the months passed, Megan continued her quiet efforts to reconnect with Ethan, though progress was slow. Lily acted as a mediator at times, encouraging her brother to consider giving their mother another chance. You don't have to forgive her completely, she told him one evening, but maybe it's time to let go of some of the anger, for yourself, not for her. Ethan shrugged, not committing to anything, but Lily's words stayed with him. Meanwhile, Lucas and Olivia were busy planning for the next stage of their lives. With Ethan about to graduate and Lily preparing to move away for college, they decided to downsize their home and focus on building memories with their children during the limited time they still had together. One afternoon, as they packed boxes in the attic, Olivia found a box of old photos from Lucas's previous marriage. She handed him one of the pictures, showing a younger Lucas and Megan with Ethan and Lily as toddlers. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Olivia asked gently. Lucas studied the photo for a moment before setting it aside. "I used to," he admitted, "but I don't anymore. What we have now, it's better than anything I could have imagined back then." Olivia smiled and kissed his cheek. "I feel the same way." At Ethan's graduation, Megan attended, sitting quietly in the back while Lucas and Olivia cheered loudly in the front row. After the ceremony, Ethan approached Megan, surprising everyone. "Thanks for coming," he said, his tone neutral but not unfriendly. Megan blinked, momentarily stunned. "Of course," she replied softly. "I'm proud of you, Ethan. I always have been." Ethan gave her a small nod before walking back to join his father and Olivia. Though their exchange was brief, it marked the first step toward a tentative reconciliation. As the family celebrated Ethan's achievements that evening, Lucas took a moment to step outside, watching the sunset from the porch. Olivia joined him, wrapping her arms round his waist. "You okay?" she asked, her voice full of warmth. Lucas nodded, pulling her close. "More than okay. I'm happy. Really, truly happy." "Me too," Olivia said with a smile. For Lucas, the journey had been long and filled with heartache, but as he stood there with Olivia, surrounded by their children's laughter, he knew he had found the life he was meant to have. As time passed, life for Lucas and Olivia continued to flourish. With Ethan now entering the workforce and Lily thriving in college, their home felt quieter, but still filled with warmth during family gatherings. Chloe, now a teenager with big dreams, often joked about being the last kid standing in the house, and Lucas found himself cherishing every moment with her. One autumn afternoon, while organizing family albums, Chloe stumbled upon an old photo of Ethan and Lily as children with Megan. She hesitated before showing it to Lucas. "Do you think they'll ever be able to forgive her completely?" she asked. Lucas studied the photo for a long moment. "I know, Chloe. Forgiveness is complicated. It's not something you can rush." Chloe nodded thoughtfully. "Do you think you forgave her?" Lucas's response was quiet but firm. "I think I made peace with it. That's different from forgiveness." Megan, on the other hand, had accepted that her role in her children's lives would never be the same. While her relationship with Lily had grown more consistent, she knew that Ethan's boundaries remained firm. Despite this, she continued to show up in whatever small ways she could, sending cards on birthdays, attending milestones, and offering support from a respectful distance. One day, Megan received an unexpected call from Lily. "Mom," Lily began, "I think Ethan might be ready to talk to you. He mentioned it the other day." Megan's heart leapt, but she kept her excitement tempered. "I'd like that," she said softly, "but only if he's ready." The meeting between Megan and Ethan was arranged at a quiet cafe. Ethan arrived first, sitting stiffly at a corner table. When Megan walked in, she looked nervous but composed. She approached him cautiously, unsure of how to begin. "Hi, Ethan," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hi," he replied, his tone neutral. For a few moments they sat in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between them. Finally, Megan spoke. I want to start by saying I'm sorry. For everything. For how I hurt you, your sister, and your dad. I know I can't undo the past, but I hope you'll let me be part of your life again. Even in a small way." Ethan took a deep breath, his expression conflicted. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Mom. What you did. It broke us." "No," Megan said, tears brimming in her eyes. "And I'll never stop regretting it. But I'm here now, and I'll keep showing up, no matter what it takes." He looked at her wearily. Ethan nodded slowly, his tone softening. "Maybe we can start with this." It wasn't a complete reconciliation, but it was a step forward. Back at home, Lucas listened as Ethan recounted the meeting. "She apologized," Ethan said, "and for the first time, I think she really meant it." "How do you feel about it?" Lucas asked. "I'm not sure yet," Ethan admitted, "but It felt good to say what I needed to say. Lucas placed a reassuring hand on his son's shoulder. That's a good start, Ethan. Take it one step at a time. As the years went by, the family's bonds continued to strengthen. Lucas and Olivia celebrated their 5th wedding anniversary with a trip to the mountains, bringing the kids along for a week of hiking and storytelling around campfires. Ethan had started a promising career in software development, while Lily was thriving in her studies to become a teacher. Lee, inspired by her siblings, began exploring her own passions, often sharing her dreams with Lucas and Olivia during their long evening chats. Megan, though still somewhat distant from Ethan, had found a quiet contentment in the small role she played in her children's lives. She continued her volunteer work and focused on becoming the best version of herself, knowing it was the least she could do to honor the second chances she'd been given. One summer evening, as Lucas and Olivia sat on the porch watching the sunset, Olivia turned to him with a smile. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Lucas nodded, his expression thoughtful. "All the time. It's been a long road, but I wouldn't trade it for anything." "Neither would I," Olivia said, resting her head on his shoulder. For Lucas, the journey had been filled with pain, growth, and ultimately, love. As he looked out at the horizon, surrounded by the family he had built, he knew that the future was as bright as ever. As the years went on, Lucas and Olivia's lives settled into a peaceful rhythm. Their home became a gathering place for family celebrations where Ethan, Lily, and Chloe often returned, filling the space with laughter and warmth. Each holiday was marked by traditions they had built together, from Thanksgiving dinners to summer barbecues in the backyard. Ethan had grown into a confident and successful young man. His career in software development flourished, and he found himself with a serious relationship with a kind-hearted woman named Anna. During one visit home, he announced to Lucas and Olivia that he was planning to propose. "I've seen what a real partnership looks like because of you two," Ethan said, his voice steady. "I want that for myself." Lucas felt a swell of pride, pulling his son into a hug. "You deserve every bit of happiness, Ethan." Meanwhile, Lily was thriving in her own right. Her passion for teaching had blossomed into a rewarding career, and she often called home to share stories about her students. Though she lived a few hours away, she made a point to visit as often as she could, bringing with her the same warmth and optimism that had always defined her. On one such visit, Lily sat down with Lucas and Olivia to share some surprising news. "Mom's been different lately," she said. "We've been talking more, and I think she's really trying to make amends." Lucas nodded, his expression neutral. "That's good, Lily. If it helps you heal, I'm glad." He sighed. Lily smiled. "I think it's helping Ethan, too. He's been more open about things lately, even about Mom." "Agreed," he said. For Megan, the slow process of rebuilding her relationship with her children was both painful and rewarding. Every small step, a text from Ethan, a call from Lily, felt like a victory. She had learned to take nothing for granted and had worked tirelessly to become a better version of herself. One day, Ethan invited Megan to lunch, a gesture that shocked even him. "I'm not saying everything's fixed," he told her, "but I think it's time to try." Their conversation was cautious but honest. For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to see the effort Megan had put into changing. "I'm proud of you," he said, as they parted ways. "It's not easy to face your mistakes, but you've done it." Megan's tears that day were a mixture of relief and gratitude. As Lucas and Olivia watched their children grow into independent, compassionate adults, they often reflected on how far they had come as a family. One evening, while cleaning out the garage, Lucas came across a box of keepsakes from the early days of his first marriage. He hesitated, then decided to share the contents with Ethan and Lily. "These are part of your story too," he explained as he handed them the box. "It's important to remember where we started, even if it was messy." Ethan and Lily spent hours sifting through the memories, laughing at old photos and reminiscing about their childhood. "It's strange," Ethan said, holding up a picture of their parents from before the divorce. "Looking at this doesn't hurt as much anymore." "That's because we've moved forward," Lily said with a smile, "and we're all stronger for it." Years later, as Lucas and Olivia celebrated their 10th wedding anniversary, the entire family gathered to honor the milestone. Ethan, now married to Anna, brought his firstborn son, a bright-eyed toddler who quickly became the center of attention. Lily arrived with her fiancé, sharing plans for their upcoming wedding. Chloe, now a college student, regaled everyone with stories of her adventures and aspirations. Megan also attended the celebration, invited by both Ethan and Lily. Though she kept a respectful distance, her presence marked how much the family had healed over the years. Lucas, observing the scene, felt no resentment, only a sense of closure. As the evening wound down, Lucas stood beside Olivia, watching their children and grandchildren play under the twinkling lights in the backyard. "We've come a long way," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. Olivia smiled, leaning into him, "And the best part? We're just getting started." For Lucas, the journey had been one of pain, growth, and ultimate redemption. The life he had rebuilt with Olivia was more than he ever thought possible, a testament to love, resilience, and the strength of family.